The fascinating story of the Western Xia Dynasty. The Western Xia Dynasty, also known as the Xi Xia, the Great Xia, and the Tangut Empire, was a Tangut-led imperial dynasty of China that existed from 1038 until 1227. At its peak, the Tanguts ruled over today's northwestern China, including parts of the provinces of Ningxia, Gansu, Qinghai, Shaanxi, Xinjiang and Inner Mongolia, in addition to southernmost Mongolia. The territory extended across approximately 800,000 square kilometres or 310,000 square miles. The Western Xia capital was Xingqing, where the city of Yinchuan sits today. Another of its major cities was the location of an archaeological site known as Khara-Khoto. The Western Xia was annihilated by the Mongols in the year 1227, when most of the written records and architecture of that era were destroyed. The most historical evidence of the empire remained obscure until research during the 20th century was conducted by Chinese and Western archaeologists. Today, the Tangut language and its unique script are extinct, and only fragments remain of Tangut literature. The Western Xia occupied an area around the Hexi Corridor, a section of the ancient Silk Road, the most important of trade routes between northern China and Central Asia. The Western Xia are known to have made contributions to literature, music and architecture, which was absorbed into the empires of the Liao, Song and Jin, as was their effective military organizations that integrated the use of integrated cavalry, chariots, archers, shields and artillery, cannons transported on the backs of camels, and amphibious soldiers to operate on both land and water. The origins and history of the Tanguts. The Tanguts were originally located in the highland of today's western Sichuan, although claims they originated further afield into Qinghai and Tibet were also recorded. According to ancient records, the Tanguts, at one time known as Dangxiang, descended from the Western Xiang people who at one time occupied the steppes around Qinghai Lake, as well as the mountainous areas to the south of the lake. In the year 608, the Tanguts assisted the Sui dynasty in defeating the Tu Hun. However, they were quickly betrayed by the Sui, who then looted Tangut property. Then, in 635, they were requested to aid the ruling dynasty once again in acting as guides for Emperor Taizong's campaign against the Tu Yuan. This time, the Tanguts were double-crossed by the ruling Tang dynasty when their livestock was seized. In an act of retaliation, thousands of Tang soldiers were killed by Tangut forces. By the 650s, the Tanguts had moved from their homeland in fear of attack from the Tibetans and migrated eastwards to what is now Shaanxi and Shaanxi. By the 750s and the era surrounding the An Lushan rebellion, the Tanguts were the primary local power in northern Shaanxi. By the 760s, after harassment, the Tanguts had joined forces with the Tibetans and Uyghurs, working as guides on raiding parties in support of rebellions against the Tang. Sporadic conflicts with the Tang continued into the early 9th century, which led to uprisings against the Uyghurs after the collapse of the Uyghur Khaganate, due to both parties wanting to monopolize the trade in horses through Lingzhou. Dingnan Jia. In 880, after Chang'an fell, a joint Chinese-Tangut army attempted to drive out the rebels. Led by Tuoba Sigong, he was in 881 granted control over Xiaozhou, Youzhou, Suizhou, Yinzhou and Jingbian in a territory known as Dingnan Jia, also called Xia Sui, and located in what is today Yulin, Shaanxi. Sigong was later given the dynastic surname Li and the title Duke of Xia. Segong died in 886 and succeeded by his brother Zhejian. In 905, the independent regime allied themselves with the Khitans and created an alliance with the later Liang, while honorary titles were bestowed upon the leaders of Dingnan Jiadusha. The next few turbulent years saw Xinjiang being replaced by his son Yichang upon his death in 908. Yichang was then murdered in 909 and replaced by his uncle Renfu. In 910, Dingnan was under siege by joint forces from Qi and Jin, but were able to repel the invasion with the aid of the later Liang. In 924, Renfu was given the title Prince of Shuafang by the later Liang before his death in 933. And Kongjin, a Sogdian governor, tried to remove Renfu's son Yichao and besieged Xiazhou with an army of 50,000 soldiers. However, the Tanguts were able to withstand the onslaught by rallying local tribes to their cause and stripping the countryside of any resources that could aid their opponents. Peace was restored after 3 months, although Yichao's death in 935 saw another turbulent period when his brother Yixing replaced Yichao. Yixing discovered a plot by another brother, Yimin, to overthrow him in 943. Yimin fled but was captured and returned for execution, along with more than 200 clan members implicated in the plot. Yixin died in 967, was succeeded by his son Qinghai, who died in 978, to be replaced by his son Jiyun, who then died in 980. Jiyun's son was still an infant, so control went to Jiyun's brother Jipeng. Jipeng had assumed control, which caused dissent among the elders, with challenges coming from the Tangut prefecture of Suizhou. In 982, Jipeng fled to the Song, and in doing so, surrendered control of Dingnan Jiadusha to the Song. His relative, Xia Qian, either a brother or cousin, their relationship is not clear, refused to submit to the Song administration and led a group of bandits resisting the Song. In 984, his camp was attacked by Song forces, who captured the wife and mother of Xia Qian. In response, Xia Qian captured the city of Yinchuan the following year, thus enabling him to increase his following. In 986, Xia Qian allied to the Khitans by marrying into their nobility. Jipeng was later sent by the Song to destroy Xia Qian, but he was unsuccessful in this attempt and fled back to Xiazhou. Xia Qian died in 1004 from an arrow wound and was succeeded by his son Doming, who was more amicable toward the Song rulers. Emperor Jingzong. During his years of rule, Doming paid tributes to both the Liao and Song dynasties while expanding Tangut territory further to the west. In 1028, he sent his son Yuan Hao to conquer the Ganzhou Uyghur kingdom, and 2 years later the Guiyi circuit surrendered to the Tanguts. After an unsuccessful attempt on taking control of the Qinghai region, Yuan Hao annexed the Tibetan Confederation of Shiliangfu in 1032. Shortly after this, his father Doming died, leaving Yuan Hao as the new ruler of the Tangut state. Upon taking control, Yuan Hao ordered all able-bodied men between the ages of 15 and 60 into his army, which soon expanded to 150,000. In 1038, he declared himself Emperor Wuzhu, or Blue Sun of Heaven, and became known posthumously as Emperor Jingzong of Western Xia, and he claimed Xinqing, today's city of Yinchuan, as his capital. One of his first decrees issued was for the shaving of heads, which ordered all men to shave the tops of their heads within 3 days of the order being issued. Anyone not complying with the order was to be executed. In opposition to the creation of the Western Xia, there followed a prolonged war with the Song, which came at a great cost to the Xia economy. Although by this time Yuan Hao had an army in excess of 370,000 men, most were poorly trained and ill-equipped, and only the elite unit of 5,000 bodyguards was considered to be of any worthwhile capability. The Song dynasty appealed to the Liao in assisting their removing the Western Xia. Emperor Xinjiang of Liao invaded Western Xia with an army in excess of 100,000 in 1044. The Liao claimed an initial victory but failed to take the Xia capital before they were brutally slain by Xinjiang's army. There was an almost continuous caravan of carts bringing the Liao dead back across the desert. Eventually, peace was agreed between the Song and Western Xia before Xinjiang died in 1048 at the age of 44. Emperor Yizong. After the death of Emperor Xinjiang, his cousin was selected as the new leader by a council of elders. However, Mokang Apang objected on grounds of primogeniture and selected his nephew, the son of Jingzong and Lady Mokang. With no objections, the 2-year-old Liang Zhou became emperor to posthumously be known as Emperor Yizong of Western Xia. In 1061, Yizong eliminated Mokang Apang and married Lady Liang, formerly the wife of Apang's son. Lady Liang's brother, Liang Yamai, was then appointed as the palace minister. This began 2 generations of Liang dominance within the Western Xia. During the reign of Yizong, he attempted to instill a greater form of Chinese court ritual and dress, but was opposed by the Liang faction that favoured Tangut ritual despite the Liang clan being reportedly of Han Chinese ancestry. In 1064, Yizong led raids on the Song, and in the autumn of 1066, during further attacks, including Qingzhou, several Song fortified settlements were destroyed by the Tanguts. During these assaults, Yizong was wounded by a crossbow bolt and forced to retreat. Eventually, Yizong died at the age of 20 in January 1068, presumably from the wounds inflicted during these assaults. Emperor Huizong. Bingcheng, posthumously known as Emperor Huizong, was just 7 years old when he succeeded his father. His reign began with a war against the Song dynasty in 1070–71 over the city of Shuizhou. In 1080, Huizong rebelled against his mother's dominance by discarding the Tangut ritual in favour of Chinese ceremony. The following year, after a plot by Huizong and his concubine Li Qing to turn over the Xia's southern territory till the Song was uncovered, Li Qing was executed and Huizong was imprisoned. Sensing the political unrest in Xia, the Song went on to the offensive and launched a 5-pronged attack. However, after a number of successes, the Song failed to take the capital. The war eventually ended with the death of Emperor Shenzong of Song in 1085. The Song returned 4 of the 6 towns they had captured. The conflict would erupt again 5 years later and continue sporadically until the Song lost the city of Kaifeng in 1127 during the Qinghai incident. In 1083, Huizong was returned to the throne, but his return was somewhat short-lived as he died at the age of 26 in 1086. Emperor Chongzhong, the heir to the throne, Qianshun, was just 3 years old when his father died. Posthumously known as Emperor Chongzhong, his mother, the Empress Dowager Liang, ruled as regent while the Song continued its campaigns against the Xia over several years, which culminated in the Song building 40 fortifications across the Ordos Plateau. In 1098, still under the rule of the Empress Regent Liang, an army of 100,000 soldiers was sent to recapture Pingxia, which resulted in the complete capitulation of that army, with 2 of its leading generals being captured. The Empress herself died in 1099 after being reportedly poisoned by Liao Dynasty assassins. During this time, the Tanguts were also involved in conflicts to their north with the Zubu, while to the south the Song continued with attempts to expand their territory at the expense of the Western Xia. The failure of the Tangut armies to take any major cities from the Song led to those armies going on the rampage, killing tens of thousands of civilians who they encountered. A temporary peace was secured before another war broke out between the Xia and Song in 1113, which, after countless battles, resulted in the loss of thousands of soldiers on both sides before a ceasefire was eventually agreed in 1119. In 1122, the Xia Dynasty began its quest to take the Liao territory, with the remaining Khitans, including the imperial royal family, fleeing into Western Xia. They were at first given sanctuary, but eventually Chongzhong, under threats from the Jurchens, declared himself a vassal of the Jin in 1124, before he died at the age of 56 in 1139. Emperor Renzong was 16 years of age when he succeeded his father in 1139. The following year, he crushed a potential uprising by Khitan rebels. This was followed by a famine and earthquake in 1142–43. Renzong responded to that potential catastrophe by offering tax cuts and relief measures. Renzong established schools throughout the country for scholars aged from 7 to 15, with a superior college of Chinese learning opening the following year, with imperial examinations being introduced in 1147. Renzong also patronized the learning of Buddhism, and in 1189, on the 50th anniversary of his accession, 100,000 copies of the Sutra on the Visualization of the Maitreya Bodhisattva's Ascent and Rebirth into Shita Heaven were printed and distributed in both Chinese and Tangut, with an additional 50,000 copies of other sutras available. Ren Dezhing, one of Renzong's closest allies in his early years of rule, became very powerful from 1156, first attempting unsuccessfully to close the schools Renzong had opened. Then, in 1165 through to 1170, Ren Dezhong tried to establish his own semi-autonomous state and meddled in the affairs of the Zhuanglang tribes that lived in the border region of the Tao River Valley. After being refused assistance from both the Jurchens and Emperor Xizong of Jin in the summer of 1170, some of Renzong's most trusted allies rounded up Ren Dezhing and his followers and executed them. In 1172, the Jurchens closed down the border markets in Lanzhou and Bao'an after accusing the Tanguts of trading worthless goods and trade for their silk. Border raids by the Tanguts increased until the Jurchens reopened one market in 1181. Renzong died in 1193 at the age of 70, having been emperor for 54 years. Emperor Huanzong. Little is known about Renzong's successor, his 17-year-old son Chunyo, who became posthumously known as Emperor Huanzong. The few details recorded of his rule center around the rise of Temujin and his conflict with the Western Xia. In 1203, Torul was defeated by Temujin. Torul's son, Nilkar Semgun, fled to Tangut territory, and after being refused refuge, he raided the territory in response. Temujin used this as an excuse to raid Western Xia, which led to one Western Xia tribe defecting to the Mongols in 1205, as several fortified settlements were plundered along with the loss of livestock. In the year 1206, Temujin was formally proclaimed with the title Genghis Khan, the supreme ruler of all Mongols, and in the same year Huanzong was deposed by a coup led by his cousin Anquan, who installed himself as Emperor Xianzong. Huanzong remained in captivity until his death, the date of which, like most of his rule, is unknown. Emperor Xianzong. Further Mongol raids into Western Xia in 1207 included the sacking of Wulahai, the main garrison along the Yellow River. The Tanguts under Emperor Xianzong tried to form an alliance with the Jurchen Jin dynasty against the threat of the Mongols, but the Jurchen Empire refused to cooperate with its Tangut contemporary. In the autumn of 1209, the Uyghurs submitted their territory to the west of that of the Western Xia to the Mongols, who then turned their attention on the Tangut lands. After capturing the city of Wulahai, Genghis Khan advanced along the Yellow River, capturing several garrisons until they reached the capital, Xingqing. With an army of 150,000, the capital came under threat of being flooded when the Mongols attempted to divert the Yellow River to flood its way through the city. However, the dike broke and instead flooded the Mongol camp, forcing their withdrawal. The respite was short-lived, as in 1210, Xianzong, submitted to Mongol rule, offered his daughter's hand in marriage to Genghis Khan, and paying a tribute that included camels, falcons, and textiles. Also, in 1210, for refusing to aid them, the Western Xia attacked the Jin dynasty. Thus began a 23-year-long campaign between the Western Xia and the Mongols against the Jin. A further development in 1210 led to Xianzong's nephew, Zhonshu, seizing power in a coup to become Emperor Shenzong. Xianzong died just 1 month after the coup removed him from power. Emperor Shenzong tried appeasing the Mongols by attacking the Jurchens in 1214, and in 1216 he provided soldiers in support of a Mongol attack on Jin territory. The Tanguts also invited the Song dynasty in attacking the Jin, but they didn't offer their support. In the winter of 1217-18, the Mongols wanted the Tanguts to provide soldiers for campaigns further to the west, but the Tanguts refused to comply with this request. In 1223, Shenzong abdicated in favor of his son, Duan. Emperor Xianzong. Within the first year of his rule, Emperor Xianzong began peace talks with the Jurchen Jin dynasty, with a deal being agreed in the autumn of 1225, a move seen as an act of defiance against the Mongols. After defeating the Khwarazm, Genghis Khan prepared his armies to punish the Western Xia, and in 1225 he began with an army of approximately 180,000 soldiers. At this time, Genghis Khan was injured during a horse hunt when his horse bolted from under him. Genghis Khan then offered the Western Xia a chance to submit willingly. Instead, the Mongols were mocked and challenged to battle. Genghis Khan pledged to avenge the insult and ordered his generals to systematically destroy any cities and garrisons as they moved across Western Xia territory. The Mongol army was divided into two, with General Subutai taking care of the westernmost cities, while Genghis Khan moved east into the heart of Western Xia. He took Suzhou and Gansu, with the latter being spared destruction because it was the home city of Genghis commander Chang'an. After taking Khara-Khoto in early 1226, the Mongol armies began steadily moving southward. With no substantial numbers of Western Xia soldiers sent to meet them in battle, the Mongols steadily advanced, sacking city after city. In August 1226, the Mongol army approached Liangzhou, the second largest city in Western Xia. The city surrendered without resistance. They then crossed the Helan Mountains, laying siege first to Lingwu, just 30 kilometres from the Western Xia capital. It was at this time that Xianzong died at the age of 41, leaving Xian, his relative, to take over leadership amidst the turmoil of the Mongol invasion. Emperor Mozhu. Xian, known posthumously as Emperor Mo or Mozhu, led an army of 300,000 against the Mongols and was defeated as a victorious Mongol army sacked Liangzhou. Genghis Khan reached the capital in 1227, while simultaneously launched several offensives against the Jin to prevent them coming to the aid of Western Xia. One of those offensives reached the Jin capital of Kaifeng. Genghis Khan's siege of the Western Xia capital continued for 6 months before the city's defenders were offered the chance to surrender. However, in August 1227, Genghis Khan died, and in order to not jeopardize the campaign, his death was not publicized. The following month, unaware of the death of the Mongol leader, Emperor Mo surrendered to the Mongols. He was promptly executed and the city pillaged. The people were slaughtered and imperial tombs to the west of the city plundered. These acts brought about the complete annihilation of the Western Xia Dynasty. Conclusion: the complete destruction of the Western Xia. The act of destruction against the Western Xia was nearly total. As such, the Western Xia is little known of today outside of this region of Asia. Due to Genghis Khan's policy that called for their complete eradication, there is a case that this could be the first recorded example of attempted genocide. However, a few members of the Western Xia royal clan were able to escape, fleeing to Western Sichuan, northern Tibet, and possibly as far as northeastern India. There was a small Western Xia state established in Tibet along the upper reaches of the Yalang River, while other populations of Western Xia settled in what are now the provinces of Henan and Hebei. Within China, remnants of the Western Xia existed at least into the middle of the Ming dynasty. That brings us to the end of this video, highlighting an era of almost constant conflict. If you enjoyed watching and it has shown you a little detail of life and events here in China, then your subscribing to my channel would mean a lot to me. Thank you for watching. Make sure you click on the link to the next video, and until the next time, goodbye for now.